I'd like to welcome you to yet another edition of Holding Talks. And this is the 33rd edition. And for this edition, we have the privilege of having one of our own and the immediate past. And you never can say, maybe there is going to be a recall to service or there is going to be a movement to higher ground. We don't know yet. We have our own Professor Bakare Ojo Rasaki in the house as our guest on Holding Talks 33. And like I tried to inform those of us who arrived very, very early, we say thank you for coming that much early. And again, apologies to Prof and to all of us. The error was from my end. I sent Prof the wrong passcode, so he couldn't join us at when due. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of sad news from our end, from Ekiti State, which is going to conscript us into a very short edition, as Prof is very vital to arrangements back in Ekiti, as the Ekiti State government only yesterday lost the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Afuye. And so, but of course, as you know, in theater, like we say, the show must go on. So Prof is not able to escape from this, despite that very important assignment back home, as Ekiti people mourn the passage of the Honorable Speaker of the State House of Representatives. So we welcome you, and yes,
House of Assembly.
Oh, sorry, yeah, House of Assembly, Ekiti State House of Assembly, the Speaker of the Ekiti State House of Assembly. So we commiserate with the people of Ekiti, of which I am one, and the government of Ekiti State on this passage. We pray that the departed will rest in peace, and the family will have the Amen. Fortitude to bear that loss. And so, Prof, Amen. Welcome on to Holding Talks 33. It's a privilege having you here, and maybe where to start from, Prof, given the very short time we have on our hands. You know, there has always been a very, this very debate about the business of artists or creatives in the corridors of power, whether it is necessary, whether they have anything to do there, or whether when they eventually have the opportunity to, whether they do well and the rest of that. So I will just put it together into what is the topic of our discussion today, to ask you, what exactly is the role of the arts in the intersection of politics and governance? Not just in Nigeria, but all over. What will be your take on that line of arguments? Yes.
Thank you, Jerry. I must commend you for your energy, your tenacity, your commitment to the development of our arts and culture. You are a wonderful, in fact, I don't know how to describe you. Nothing discourages you. The terrain is rough and tough, but you keep pushing on. Thank you so much. The Lord will reward you for the beautiful thing you are doing for our sector. I also want to say hello to our colleagues over there that have joined and are hearing me, and those who are yet to join but will still join. I say good morning to everybody. Yeah. Now, because of our time, let me quickly address that first question. More than before, we need the presence of artists in governance. Because there are many things calling for attention. Attention of those who are in power. Attention of those who daily decide what we do in our country, in our states, in our local governments, and what we don't do. There are many things calling, competing for the attention of those who disburse resources. And so, if you are not represented, nobody thinks for you, nobody speaks for you, nobody defends you. So really, it is a mistake thinking that those of us in the arts, we have no business in politics. Yes, we may not be interested in politics. Like I tell people, I'm still not a politician. But we need our presence in governance. There are two different things. You can be an artist in governance. You are part of government. You face governance. You follow politics to the extent that you can follow it. Because even that one too, even when you may not like it, you cannot completely throw it away. Because politics talks about, you know, the sharing of resources. And so if you want to completely stay away from it, it means that those who don't know what you know, those who don't have interest in the things you have interest in, they will disperse and share resources, and you will be a victim. So even politics.
You are muted, Prof. Prof, you are muted. Check your mic, sir. You are muted.
That you muted. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, maybe you can go 1 minute backward because you were muted at some point.
So I am saying that even politics, as some of us do not like to be called politicians, I'm saying that even politics, you cannot stay away from it completely.
Yeah.
Because if you stay away from it, then you'll be a victim of those who don't know what you know, those who do not have interest in the things you have interest in. They will lord it over you. And because you are not there, there's nothing, you know, you can do. So we need our presence in not just the corridors of power, in the bedroom of power, if possible, so that at least we can defend the interests of our sector. And there'll be somebody fighting for those who practice our trade. If you remember, Jerry, this is not my first experience. For 5 years, I was in charge of the National Carnival. I worked with 3 different ministers. And for those 5 years, we never missed any edition of the carnival. Most of the time, people did not know what I was doing because I'm an artist. I did all kinds of things to define the interest of the Nigerian artists because I knew that the carnival was putting food on the table of our artists. So sometimes when the ministry was food dragging and say our budget has not come, I tell you, Jerry, on Saturday morning, the opening of the carnival, most of the time, I will be at my bank, taking a loan, putting my head, my neck on the line, taking a loan of millions to make sure that the carnival went on. Then after the carnival, government will be forced to pay. But now, you remember what has happened to the carnival. Since I left that place, no carnival. Because people could no longer take those risks I was taking. I use that as an example.
Yeah.
It is when you have a genuine artist in governance, you will be able to take such risks because of the passion he or she has for the job. Non-artists don't have that kind of passion. Okay, they don't have that kind of passion. To them, art is what you do when every other problem has been settled. Okay, so when you are talking about 5 million naira for a performance, the man is calculating how many electric poles can 5 million naira buy and how many villages that will electrify. He doesn't think that your own business is also part of what human beings need to survive. Okay? Now, art humanizes us. Art humanizes us. Without art, those who govern us, please excuse my word, some of those who govern us will be complete beasts without the arts, without entertainment, because it is all about grabbing power. It is all about calculating power, permutations. It is all about where the next 1 naira will come from or where it should go. It is all about nocturnal meetings, unending. And so, art is the only thing that, when made presence, brings them back to that, which the Bible calls a heart of meat. That is what a true human being should be, body, soul, and spirit.
Yeah.
Right? So because the art humanizes us. So that is another angle to it. Without art, these people will just be complete beasts. And our, society will be worse, than a society of jackals, where everybody is just existing, based on the principle of the stronger survives, the weaker, dies off. Survival of the fittest. So then another way of looking at it is that when art is well developed, it is real business. It is business. When art is made, is mainstreamed into the economic development of any state, of any country, it is huge, amount of money that potentially is being made.
Yeah.
Okay. If you do not, for instance, if you do not have the kind of experience we've had in my states in the last about 3 years that I've been part of government, about 200 people will not have been employed today, direct employment, because the robustness of what we have done here in the last 3 years or so has given direct appointment to about 200 people. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Beyond that,
Prof, maybe we should
yes.
do it this way, because that was going to be my next question to say, I mean, from the day you received a call to serve the Ekiti people, can you just briefly then share your experience and the impact that your position as the Commissioner for Arts, Culture, and Tourism has brought to bear on the cultural terrain in Ekiti, and of course, impacting on the life of Ekiti generally?
Okay. Somebody here wants me to introduce myself.
No, not you, sir. Not you. That was the message from me. It's for other participants, so that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Please
now, thank you, Jerry. Now, I was talking about employment generation.
Yeah.
The creative sector, maybe after agriculture, the creative sector is the highest creator of employment, especially, for in a country like Nigeria. Okay, because this is it. Almost everybody is a carrier of one talent or the other. The problem is that most people do not know, because the orientation right from birth is not helpful, in our climate. Because as soon as a child is growing up,
yeah,
your parent is already pushing you the way of a neighbor that is a medical doctor or a lawyer.
Yes.
Those are the successful people they know, so they want you to go that way.
Yeah.
So before you start recognizing and discovering your creative instincts, you are way deep into another man's profession. So because of the fact that most of our youths are natural carriers of creative talents, when the creative sector is properly developed, it has the capacity to employ many of our youths who daily, roam the street, right? And I've seen that work in Ekiti State. Okay. Directly, like I was saying, this has given employment to about 200 people. And indirectly, it has given employment to thousands of our people. In fact, there was a time that Sterling Bank on their own came to Ekiti State, that they heard what we were doing, and that we should invite our stakeholders in the creative sector, those who are in tourism, those who are in visual arts, performing arts, and all that. And they gave them grants. Okay, injected money into their different businesses. As I speak with you today, because of the environment, the number of companies in this creative, the private companies, young chaps who are not even looking for government employment, the number of such private companies that have, that have been registered in the State with the ministry, is very, very encouraging, right? Now, again, because of the development in the sector in the last 3 years or so, the image, because that is one other thing that art can do if well managed by a particular government. It is an image-making machinery. Ekiti State today, you are from Ekiti State, Jerry. Ekiti State today is extremely respected in the Committee of States in Nigeria because of what they are hearing about us, because of the things we are doing. A time was when Ekiti people in diaspora were not proud of their state because all they were hearing was stomach infrastructure and the rest. But today, because everywhere they go, they say Ekiti State came overall second in Nigeria and NAFEST 2020. Ekiti State, came overall first, took overall first position in 2021 at NAFEST. The NAFEST that Ekiti State hosted in 2021 won the award of the best event in Nigeria 2021. Ekiti State moved from the last state in tourism to second state in tourism in Nigeria, just beaten by Lagos. Lagos alone with the amount of money that other states have. Now, every Ekiti daughter and son have been extremely proud of their states in the last 3 years because of all these achievements. Now, that is what art or the creative sector, generally can do for a government. Is an image-making, machinery. Okay. Again, in terms of communicating government programs to the people, there is no tool as effective as the arts. Here, 80% of what the people, especially at the grassroots, 80% of what they know about what our government has been doing. Our performing troupe hosts what we call Sunday show every second Sunday and every last Sunday of the month. 60% of the performances are loaded with information on what government is doing. We do not present it as if it's a propaganda. Of course, they know. We say the truth. And very well packaged, in terms of entertainment, spectacle, and the rest. That you will not even know that we are talking about what we want you to know about what government is doing and the rest of it. Beyond that, the troop goes from one community to another. We in 2021, we toured all the local governments in the state. In fact, both 2020 and 2021, we've toured all the local governments in the state with performances, talking to the grassroots people about what government is doing and the need for them to support government. Okay? Not propaganda, not political propaganda. In fact, the governor and the other people in power, they didn't even know that we were on top. we're just taking performances run. But through that, we make sure that the people are getting information about what government is doing, about their own role as citizens, you know, citizen engagement, right?
Yeah.
You know, through drama, through dance, through music. Okay. So these are, you know, some of the roles that a government can use the arts or the creative sector in general for. In terms of my achievements, well, I can only mention many of them. I mean, some of them because of time constraint.
Yeah.
Beyond the ones I've mentioned to you, I mean, today, Ekiti State, I think this is the summary. Today, Ekiti State is a force to reckon with in the sector. It was never, a time was that even me here talking, that was always ashamed of my state, you know, especially those days when I used to consult for other states to NAFEST.
Yeah.
You know, take Nasarawa to NAFEST, create for them, direct them, then they will win. Then my case, my state, Ekiti, will be at the other side of the ladder. You know, I will be feeling bad. You know, I remember the first Abuja Carnival that I handled as a artistic director. That's 2009. I remember my son, my last child, refused to eat that evening. Why? He said when I was calling the positions, first position, second position, third position, that Ekiti was not mentioned. You know, that our state, and as at that time, he had not even visited Ekiti once. You know, he was a proper Abuja boy. But he was crying. He wouldn't eat. You know, that night he said our state did not win anything. You know, but today Ekiti is the state to beat. When you talk about arts and cultural competitions nationally, internationally, you know, as I'm talking to you, UNESCO just contacted us yesterday that it is Ekiti State and national troupe that they have selected to perform at the UNESCO week in Abuja. You know, as I talked to you, just same yesterday, the Indian embassy in the Indian High Commission in Abuja called us that Ekiti State is coming, is an Indian event, but they want Ekiti State to come there, and that has been, you know, the lot of the troop in the last 2 years or so, because of what God has enabled me to do here as a commissioner. Now we have a visual arts section that is doing very well. We are making Ashoke, we are making Adire, we are selling artworks. Before, you couldn't come to Ekiti to buy souvenir. No souvenir, the whole of these things. Before 2020, when I came in, you couldn't get any souvenir as a visitor to Ekiti State. Now, if you come here, you have people making souvenirs and selling and all that. You saw the Civic Center. I think you visited Ekiti State. You saw the Civic Center. Not even Lagos can boast of an entertainment center like our Civic Center, the Obafemi Awolowo Civic Center. There is no place like that in Lagos. I'm talking of Lagos, you know, the biggest state in Southwest. They don't have anything like that, you know. So it's here for cinemas, for stage performances, malls, and the rest. You know, a one-stop shop entertainment corridor. Now, in spite of the fact that we have the Civic Center, as I'm talking to you, work is going on for us to have what we call Center for Arts and Talent Development. You know, it's going to be, is envisioned to be like this place in Abuja, you know, the other side of Sheraton, that
village,
that cultural village.
Yeah.
Yes, something like that. Something like that. But about 4 times the size of what we have in Abuja. Okay? Work is going on there now, right now, at the former waterworks premises where you call Ureje. It's overlooking the Ureje River, you know, around Ekiti in Ekiti. So it is because government has been encouraged by what we've been able to achieve. And they are beginning to see that arts could be a great deal in, bringing the state out of poverty. And that is why the new governor, Bao Banji, Abayomi Oyebanji, Biodun Abayomi Oyebanji, that is why he has made arts, culture, and tourism the 5th pillar in his 6-pillar manifesto. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
For the first time, a state in Nigeria is having arts, culture, and tourism, not tucked under anything. It's like that. If you have seen the manifesto, arts, culture, and tourism as one of the 6 areas is going to concentrate on.
Yeah.
As a governor, it is because they are now convinced that okay, this thing is not just jamboree. If we put good money in it, we are likely going to make money and make gains, and that is why that is happening. So these are some of the things that God has enabled us to achieve, and then the prayer actually is that Ekiti State will be an example, convincing other states in Nigeria that an investment in land and culture is not a lost investment.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I mean, it's not out of place to say well done. Like Mr. Macron will say, you are doing well. So thank you so very much. For those who would have questions to ask Prof, like I told you, it's an abridged version because of Prof need to go. So you can begin to prep your question and raise your hand to do so after Prof has responded to this next question from me. And it's also a very simple one. From what you have said thus far, sir, I have seen that there is no room for the argument about art for arts and then art for action. There has been a combination of both in your trajectory in the course of your commissionership in Ekiti State, which I put Ekiti State, like you just told us, and like we know, not really just told us, has put Ekiti State in the eye of the world and not just Nigeria. Do you agree with me in terms of this fusion of art for, because there has always been that argument about art for art, art for action, and so.
Yes, this is how I look at it. Of course, is an age-long argument, whether art should be for art's sake or art should be for action's sake and all that. But I believe that art has always been for action. Have we actually ever had art for art's sake? Even when you say this art doesn't intend to achieve anything, it is just for you to appreciate it as an art. But every art is saying something.
Sure.
Without something to say, you will not create an art. I mean, there is a basis for every creation. Even if what you are creating is you want to say this is nothing, but you have said something. You've said nothing. That in itself is an action. Okay, so I don't think there is art for art's sake. You, the creator of the art, may really not mean it for any other end apart from it being appreciated. But in what you want people to appreciate, there is still action. It's like in dance, the argument whether every dance says something. Every dance says something. Even when you think you are just enjoying yourself. Owambe party in Lagos.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you go to Owambe party to do? It's to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
So you will say that that art of dancing at an Owambe party is not an art to any other means. But it is. When you are dancing to Shino Peters in an Owambe party, your movement talks about you. Your movement talks about you. It is that you don't know. You know, your movement is telling those who are watching you, you see, oh, I'm a shy, disciplined person. I just had to come to this party, you know, to be with my friends. Or your movement is telling you, you see, oh, I'm a very loose kind of person. As I'm here, anything goes. Even Agbero is better than me. When you dance, your dance will say it. But to you, you think you are not doing anything. So I just use that as an example. I don't really believe in ask for our sake, because there is a basis for every art that is created. There is, and you are saying something at least, and that has put action to it.
Okay, thank you. I so agree with you. I just need to clear my thought because this was the subject of a discussion just recently. There is no hand up yet, and then I will go to the next question, and that is the issue of sustainability. So we are going back into governance. I mean, we have always had it. I mean, government, the problem with government, we hear that government is continuum, government is this, but we rarely get to see it. Now, with all that has been achieved in Ekiti State, what are the sustainability plans in place to ensure that we continue to reap the benefit or even get better in the foreseeable future?
Yes, thank you. One of the things I did to ensure that was to make sure that 90% of the time, I just face my art and deliberately refuse to play politics. I will explain that. You are likely not going to achieve, or if you achieve, once you leave that office, everything lives with you. Everything dies with you. In quote, die in quote down. If you were there working as a politician. So I insisted that I was a technocrat in government, and I was working more as a professional. So what that enabled me to do was to train people. I wasn't working with my staff in the ministry like civil servants. I was working with them as if I was training artists in my studio. So what has happened is that today, the ministry people, you know, are able to handle most of the things I was doing. I was not there to play politics of let me stay back, or from here, I want to become deputy governor or become SSG. Once you mix it with that, you will kill the acts that took you there in the first instance, right? If I did not play politics to get into office as commissioner, I do not think I should play politics to get to any other position.
Yeah.
If it suits God, that will happen. So my concern was how to entrench the sector in the order of priorities of the state government. And that has happened with the inclusion now of arts, culture, and tourism as part of the manifesto and the priorities of this new government. Like I told you, if you look at, it's a 6-agenda manifesto, and the number 5 is arts, culture, and tourism. You know, so arts, culture, and tourism now a priority. So again, that will ensure sustenance. It will ensure, you know, that doesn't die because we are no longer you know, office. So then I worked hard to make sure that the political hierarchy in the state recognize the fact that yes, this is not just a fluke. The creative sector is a sector that should be developed as a way of improving on the capacity of the state, you know, to make IGR, internally generated revenue. Okay, because before 2020, when January 2020, when I assumed office, 1st January 2020, they never thought you could make any money from the sector for government. The state troop was called Ekiti State Cultural Troop. And for 15,000 naira, they'll be willing to follow you to Lagos for a performance and all that. So when I got there and disbanded the troop, and I told my governor I'm changing the name to Ekiti State Performing Arts Company. So what is the implication? I said, now it is a company. I said, well, what you are going to do for me, I want to employ 32 artists, graduates, all of them graduates. Say, are we going to be able to pay their salary? I said, they will make more than salary that you are paying them for the state. He said, go ahead. Within 3 months, the troop was there. And then for a 5-minute dance, you pay 400,000 naira. You know, and they saw that this thing is working. You know, you are taking us to Abuja, you pay 2 million. You are taking us to Lagos, you pay 2 million. Will people patronize? I said, just wait and see. Then they discover that the more we raise the amount, the more people are even interested in inviting us, and all that, and all that, and all that. Now, the troop has become a money spinner for the state. So because they saw that happen, they now became convinced that, okay, this is business. We can actually invest in this thing and we use it to improve on our IGR. And so because that happened, you can now see that it's sustained, right? Now they are building a center for that troop. That's the center I told you, Center for Arts and Talent Development.
Yeah.
Okay? With all kinds of things, you know, art and craft village, this and that. And, you know, so I think with those things, we do not have problem with sustaining the legacy. People have been trained. The political hierarchy in the states, they are interested because we have convinced them it is possible, which is the mistake that many states do. If you go there and then after 3 months, what you are fighting for is Prado as official car, they will lose interest in your matter. And then you tell them you want to buy drum, ordinary handmade drum that you play with your hand drum, and you say you need 5 million naira to buy drum. They know you want to steal. These are the things that our colleagues do. And then their governors, you know, became disinterested in the affairs of either the Ministry of Culture or the council or whatever they call it. And that's the truth, you know. But if they'll be looking at you, you know, politicians, they'll be watching you, you know. If they see that even your lifestyle has not changed, they get information and they know that it's not that you are stealing money, and you tell them you want to achieve this, if they can just give you this more money, they give it to you, and they see that you achieve more than what they were expecting you to do with that small money. They became interested. I mean, they will become interested. They become convinced. You know, these people are not artists like you and I. So they at first they are cynical. They don't believe what you are doing. You have to convince them, right? And the moment that is done, sustaining the vision, sustaining the legacy will not be a problem.
Thank you so much, Prof. And my eye is on the time. And let me quickly save my own questions and take us to Uchenna Ayamele. Uchenna Ayamele, please, your question. Please unmute and ask your question. That's the.
Have you called me because the phone actually frozen? You called Olumide, right, Jerry?
I actually called Uchenna, but it does appear like
okay, sorry.
Uchenna is not ready.
Okay.
Okay, he's ready.
I'm ready.
That's the immediate past Secretary General of NAMTAP. Let's take you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Omoba Jerry Adesho. Well, thank you for holding on and holding the talks on.
And holding the talks. Hoping that the actions will follow.
Yes, it's the 33rd edition. That's massive. Well done, my brother. Thanks for keeping the conversation. And most importantly, I'd like to also honorably recognize our keynote speaker, Professor Bakare Ojo Rasaki. Thank you. Particularly, I'm interested in this, holding talk because it's a combo of the arts, of the politics, and of, the administration, and that's, you've expressed excellence. Fortunately for us, I mean, we've been to Ekiti and we've seen some of these very gigantic structures on ground, and for you to have attracted the government to start seeing, the arts and culture as even a pillar in the manifesto that has just been, reeled out, that's beyond, human mere understanding, because the government would rather run to something that can spend money almost immediately. I'd like to appreciate you, Professor Ojo Bakare, but these are my thoughts now. You mentioned the Abuja Carnival having taken some risks to sustain it, and after which you left. Abuja Carnival is almost defunct, as the case may apply today. Now, so it means that sustainability is a concern. Having set this structure within the arts and culture in Ekiti, I believe that you should have put in place some sustainability factors, because, it is the civil service that run this. And half of the civil service are not performers, are not practitioners. They see it as a day to evening work and collect salary and move on. Please, sir, do you have people on ground just in case you do not return as a commissioner? Or just in case you are placed in another ministry to become, maybe they want to try your expertise in maybe in another sector entirely. Government can really play these games because of your success. So please, is that on ground so that we can know that this success that you pull through won't be a one-off, just like Abuja Carnival has become stories for us. Can we go back to Ekiti in another 1 year and have this running? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Uche. Thank you, Uche. Now, yes, I already said that there is a difference between the ministry in Ekiti and Abuja Carnival. What happened in Abuja Carnival is that the ministry is not ready to let Abuja Carnival go as a commission. So Abuja Carnival is deeply, how do I put it? It's a program of the Ministry of Culture, Information and Tourism. That's a carnival. And they simply hired a house then and said, okay, the artistic director, come and stay here. Then every other person working with me was posted from the ministry. So they were not my staff. They were the staff of the minister. So there was nobody to train. I had no staff. That's the truth. In Abuja Carnival, that's the structure. It is not the same thing like what you have in Calabar. In Calabar, you have a separate Carnival Commission, right? And so they have their staff. You can groom, you can train, you can organize workshop. And then when you are leaving, you have people to hand over to. What the federal ministry did was to make sure that you do the work of artistic director, and then every other thing is left to them. And so that was why what happened to Abuja Carnival happened. It is different from Ekiti State, where, like I already said, I employed 32 seasoned graduates of the arts. And Uchenna, you know me now when I recruit people. There's no 36. Not even the governor himself will convince me to employ somebody. I single-handedly look for 32 people And let me tell you, only about 25% of them are from Ekiti State. The remaining 75 are all over Nigeria. All over Nigeria. The qualification was that you are a talented graduate of performing or visual arts, and then you are willing to come and work here. And today they are there. They were not employed as part-timers or they were not contract staff. They are not contract staff. All of them are potential permanent secretaries in Ekiti State because they were given full-time tenure appointment. They are there. When I made the state to do that, I knew what I was doing. What I was doing was to bring in a team that I could train and hand over to at the appropriate time. And then they will sustain the vision, they will sustain the dream. Now, even, let me say this. The senior people, those who were there before I came, the directors, you know, those who are on the directorial cadre, you know, from level 14 and to 16, assistant, deputy, then director and all that. I was actually the consultant that recruited these people for the state government in 1997. Ekiti State was created in 1996. In 1997, the then military administrator, the late Colonel Abawa, was in Abuja when a troop that I had trained and created dance for came back from a national dance competition, and with the gold trophy, they came first. They won the gold for Nigeria out of 86 countries, and the trophy was being presented to the president at that was Abacha in Abuja. Abawa was there, and he was the military administrator of the newly created Ekiti. He got my house number, my landline in ABU where I was lecturing there from somebody, and that is Aji Alantana. I don't even know, she may be here on this program, as many of you know Lantana. And that was how Bawa called my landline, and the rest is history. I came to Ekiti and established the State Art Council then. I was the one that recruited these guys as young artists and trained them then. I never knew that one day I will come back and be their commissioner. Okay? So they too are not, even though they have been thoroughly corrupted by civil service by the time I returned as commissioner, 20-something years later, but because I mean, with the benefit of the hindsight, I was able to retrieve them, put them back in shape, and also trained them. So with a combination of these guys and the younger people that I just brought in newly, I know that they should be able to carry on. The only fear is that may we never have an accidental discharge of a governor one day. Because when you have a bad governor, it doesn't matter the structure that you have laid. Anything can happen. Such is the kind of powers that our governors wield. But for as long as that state continues to have, right persons as governors, I think the structure we have laid in the sector and in the ministry will survive.
Thank you, Prof. And Mr. Olumide Olaniyan, please unmute and ask your questions or make your comment. Mr. Olumide Olaniyan.
Thank you so much, my dear friend, Bakare Ojo Rasaki, and good afternoon, Prof. Bakare. Good afternoon, sir. I think I will start by recalling our first meeting when we brought you my colleague, who is our mutual friend, Martin Obono. I brought you to Coalitions for Change program.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really long
Martin
ago.
And I were classmates in the University of Calabar.
Yeah, both of you were student union executive also, sir.
Yes, in Calabar, yes. He was president, I was the secretary general at the student union government.
Well done, sir. So
yes, thank you.
I think you demonstrated through that program, you use art because we were trying to convey the impact of our 5-year program to our audience, to the stakeholders, the funders, and the rest of the public. And you use between 30 and 45 minutes or so using the work of art to demonstrate the impact. I think that is something very, very big, which I will also count as an achievement for you, sir.
Thank you very
so
much.
my question for now is, of course, we have seen a lot of persons use IT, especially social media, for instance, and some other form of IT to promote their art, and it has really been helpful for a lot of artists. And what I've also observed is that quite a number of persons have also promoted what, for me, is mere mediocrity in terms of art, and making use of social media and calling it art, and a lot of persons thereafter also see them as artists. So for me, I think my question is, what will you
Hello, are you hearing me? I can't hear you.
Hello. I think it's network.
Are you hearing him? I can't hear him.
Yes, it's network from his end, I'm sure. He's frozen. Okay.
Oh, can you hear me now?
It's frozen earlier on. Maybe 1 minute, rewind back 1 minute and ask your question, sir.
Okay. The question is, what will you consider as the impact of IT, use of IT on art? Has it really promoted art, or it has really distorted it? Because you can find out quite a number of persons without adequate preparation or without proper training to really be called artists. Like you mentioned, you had to recruit persons from across the country to be part of the performing art in Ekiti. But these days, you see a lot of persons promoting art through the use of IT, especially social media or new media, as the case may be. And my question, therefore, is, do you think IT or new media has really promoted art, or it has distorted it?
No, it's, let's look at the positive. IT, naturally, when well deployed, is positioned to add value to what we do as artists. In 2013, I wrote a paper which is published in an American journal. And I was saying that theater is looking for another space, and the internet should be to the rescue. As at that time, I didn't know what was going to happen 3 or 4 years later will happen. And we started watching performances on our palms. So IT is positioned to help the work we do. It can take it, the largest auditorium perhaps will be 2,000, 3,000 sitters. Even when you have a full house, not more than 2,000 or 3,000 people will still watch the performance. But the internet will help people, millions, to watch your work at a go. So better marketing, better accessibility, and the rest of it. So IT should be a plus. The problem is that, we say easily, we say whatever has an advantage also has a disadvantage, right?
Yes. Yeah.
In this situation, not a disadvantage, it is actually an abuse. Nigeria is one country that is suffering from the abuse of the internet and all the internet stands to offer. Okay? And I think that is what we should guide against. That is what we should condemn. Okay? Now, the internet is the highway for the reasonable, the unreasonable, the good, the bad, the ugly, the absolutely stupid, and the rest. Okay? And it should not be, there should still be some form of control. That is what I will advocate. Our people unknowingly clamor for absolute freedom. There's no absolute freedom in this life. If you study nature, there's no absolute freedom. Okay? There's no absolute freedom. Watch The Kingdom of Animals. We watch it on television now. Even baby animals make mistakes and their parents discipline them. Baby animals make mistakes and their parents discipline them. That is to let you know that absolute freedom is not in the mind of nature. Yeah. It's not in the mind of nature. Absolute freedom can only lead to disaster. Part of this disaster the world is facing today is because of the crave for absolute freedom. That is what is happening, to the internet. The abuse, because people want to be absolutely free, and that is destroying us. In those days, whatever you hear on radio and television is sacrosanct. If you are a student of literature or English, your teachers will encourage you to read newspapers and watch television and listen to the radio, because whatever spoken English you hear on radio and television, whatever written English you read in the newspapers was sacrosanct, was correct, the way it should be. But it is no longer the same today. NBC is fighting it, is correcting it, and people are fighting NBC back that you don't have the right to control us. Let us do what we want to do. The same thing is happening to the internet. And I think this is what we should all, as artists, condemn. Otherwise, what is supposed to aid our work will haunt the profession and destroy it.
Thank you, Prof, for that detailed response. So very quickly, Prof, if you agree with me and if you don't mind, we have like 12 minutes to go from here. And I think that is enough to deal with at least 2 more questions, maybe both from me, since no one in the house is asking one. You said,
I can see that my brother and friend, Professor Dandara, with his students are here. Bros, how are you?
Bros is here. Okay, I think Prof wants to stop because he just unmuted. Prof, Professor Dandara. Okay, I saw him unmuted, so I thought he wanted to talk to us. Okay, I have a hand up. Yomi Oyekomi, please, can we have your question? Let's make it brief because we are winding down gradually.
Okay, hello, Jerry.
Yes, please.
Can you get me now?
Yes, we can get you.
Yes, we are hearing you, bro.
I say just to thank my brother, the guest speaker, and our honorable commissioner.
Oh, okay.
Whom we hope that now that is Emilekon, we'll have him in Abuja to ensure that we have been enjoying the chat with my students who are taking government policy and the performing arts. Okay. And I want to say that it's been very beneficial and it's the kind of exchange we need so that we can build more leaders in our sector. So thank you for sharing your experiences. I wish you had more time because I know you have more things to say.
Yeah.
Thank you,
very well done for this.
Thank you, bros.
I really would have like to do like 2 hours with Prof, but I know the reason Prof can not stay much longer. And Professor Dandara, I should be in that class that you're having. Why am I not in that class?
Now that you have reminded us that you are from Ekiti, I hand you over to Professor Rasaki. They will ensure that you come to this class.
Okay, so Chinelo.
Thanks, Prof. Greetings to your students.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, Chinedu, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I really applaud what you've done in Ekiti State and the system of management you use there by, creating a staff of your own and then training them all so they can take over from you once you're done. Is there a way that we can, replicate that system, but this time in terms of building up what we call the endowment for the arts? Because Nigerian artists need that endowment. It's very, very crucial. And we keep on waiting for government. Apparently, it can't do that. But is there a way that we can, through the system, be able to build up that kind of endowment for the arts using the kind of, replicating the kind of system that you use in Ekiti State?
Thank you so much, my sister. Actually, we have created that beginning from the 2023 budget now in Ekiti. It's one of the last things I did in office before our term expired. I made sure that the incoming governor, since he has been so convinced about the work I was able to do, and now made art culture and tourism a priority in his manifesto. So the idea was sold to him and he's been put in the 2023 budget. So our artists in this state can actually, from 2023, by the grace of God, get grants, loans, and other, kind of interventions to make films, to do stage plays, to make artworks, whatever you need money for in the creative subsector, you get loan and other for it. Now, replicating that at the federal should really not be a problem. In fact, let me tell you, I have been part, not just of that conversation at the federal level. I've certainly been part of committees on the endowment for the arts at the federal level. The last time I was called to serve on that committee was in 2008. In 2008, the federal ministry brought a certain man who incidentally was my boss in Gambia. I was in charge of the National Troop of Gambia from 1994 to 1996. Now, the guy that was the DG of the National Council for Arts and Culture in Gambia then, the Gambian, was the one that the federal ministry here, that his name is Saya, was the one they hired as resource persons. I mean, a resource person, the lead resource person, to look at our cultural policy and then the issue of endowment, art endowment and all that. People came. I remember that our brother, the former editor in the Guardian, German Anikulako, was part of it and all that. It was just holding talks.
And he's here on this call.
Huh?
And German is here.
Good afternoon, Prof.
Good afternoon. I didn't even know that you were here.
Thank you.
We were at that meeting in 2008. And it was holding talks, and nothing came out of it. Nothing. So it should be for the taking, really. I don't know what is holding it up, but again, let us blame ourselves. The document for art endowment had been worked on and pushed to a point that it was just going to be assented to. And it was us in the art house in Nigeria that bungled it. Rivalry between NANTAP and some other organizations. If you call the leadership of NANTAP, they will be able to give you information on that. You know, we were the ones that reported ourselves to federal government. And then they threw it out. And since then, they have been waiting for us. You know, because we have many associations, and we don't know the one that should lead the what do you call it, the push for the implementation of the endowment funds, whether it is TAMPAN, whether it is other, and it was born good at that level. And so after that, the ministry had made several efforts, and the Sheyi Milojus of this world and his colleagues there, Ufot, Nkanga, and the rest of them, they've tried to see whether we could bring, you know, this concept back. But he's been talking, and no movement. And I think we should more than ever be united and push for this thing and make it to happen. You know, I'm sure Daman will also have information on this issue, because it's been part of the struggle for it, you know, for decades.
Okay, Egbon, would you like to speak to this, please, as we round up? So let's have you speak to this.
Thank you, Prof, for bringing me out. I thought I would just listen, because I think I've developed the attitude of just listening these days. When I've spent decades talking and writing, and nothing seems to be changing. But since we cannot jump off from this land, we will continue to pretend that someday somebody will come and listen to us. And they
can bring you to Japa.
Not like you. And the Prof was very right. I mean, the humongous work that has been done. I'm very happy that Professor Danda writes there. But I still have volumes that he wrote about this same cultural policy, and all of us have been writing and talking, and some of those got names. Apart from the rivalry among the artists, which he has identified, if I could mention that one of the time when we took the idea of cultural policy endowment fund and co to one of the ministers, who happened to have been for me, the first intelligent minister that we had, because he could analyze, he could listen to you, analyze issues, and understand where you are coming from. Ujoma Duokwe is dead now. When we took it to him, and he said, okay, I've listened.
Hello? It's frozen on your end, Okujaman. Okay, I don't know.
Jerry, do I have the floor now? I left my space for Prof the other time.
Yes, just let's see if maybe we take you, and then when is network
and hope, yes, and we hope that will come back.
We close with him. So Yomi, you can take the floor now.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to congratulate, well, I don't know, but then let me be official, Professor Bakare Ojo Rasaki, Bodake, because I love to call him Bodake. And Prof, Bodake, congratulations on your successful tenure as one of the most performing commissioner, not only in Ekiti State, but in Nigeria in general.
Thank you.
And you will agree with me that we've come a long way.
Yes.
Even though I'm like a son or brother, I am the only in-law that you refuse to have. But
then, you wanted to marry Toyi.
And you just signed it.
To look into that.
So what I'm trying to say is that, but that case, you have really put down your mark. Despite your versatility in the field, and you are one of the few that is still relevant as of today. And when I see people who have not done half of what you've achieved, celebrating 50 years on stage, 60 years on stage, and even me that I'm your son, I know how many years I've put into the industry.
But even with that, I want to comment on your meekness, because you are one of the professors that your work speaks for you. You are not that lousy ones. So I just pray and I wish that the next appointment will be at the federal level.
Amen.
And because you have been in the field, like what my uncle would say, you have this staying in power. The longevity is there, the experience. No, I can write book on you. I know you have been all around the field. So there's no aspect of the theater, of the act that you cannot perform. So I just hope that your next appointment will be at the federal level and you can take the Nigerian art to the greater height. Amen. So that people like us that we have Japa, we will come back to the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Yomi was
very okay.
Yomi was a dancer under me, and yes, we did a lot of stuff. We took performances to almost 5-6 countries together. And all that before he left Nigeria for the US. Thank you, Yomi. Thank you so much.
So thank you. Let's go back to German and we wrap up this session with his contribution.
Sorry, I thought well, Nigeria happened. The internet just went off. Yes. Anyway, I congratulate Prof too, even though he didn't bring me to Ekiti the last time. We settled as brothers. Anyway. He told me that I had to come.
So you are still coming. There's a lot to do here.
I know. I trust. Well, I was talking about the comment you made about the cultural policy, the rivalry among the artists, and now Ujoma Duepe, who was actually ready because he had the hearing of he had the ears of the president, who was ready to take the. In fact, he said, "Let's go and meet him. When we get there, we are sure that the president will just say, okay, we're going to do it." I knew it could not happen. But then I said the other people were asking other things. I was asking them and they were saying, no, we want gallery, we want visual arts and co. And then, we had tried the idea of the coalition of Nigerian artists so that all the artists can speak with one voice. It wasn't possible. So I don't know. I think that's the kind of thing that we need, where virtually all the artists will come together and demand for one thing.
Yes.
That we want that if you have a cultural policy, we do not even need government to come into our space anymore. Just constitute a board of the culture a board to run the cultural policy, constitute the board for the endowment fund, so that my project goes to an independent body, not where one minister sits now in his office. In fact, we now had the worst of ministers over time. It's like we're degenerating from one bad experience to another bad experience. In fact, I don't even know what to say about who we have there now, because I've not had any engagement with things that I knew before. But so we need that kind of organization. I don't know how it will happen because some of us have lost energy to push that. But the second thing that I think we need to do is to actually ask for, well, the structure is no longer popular now. What we call the Department of Culture, which should have been a department that is interested in the art, is peopled by civil servants. Unfortunately, all our brothers and friends who were there, who we thought we could leverage on their being on our side, because they also train as artists. All of them have now retired. All of them. George Ford, Jide Ajibola, these are the people we could talk to, who at least are artists. They come to our event. Now I'm sure you have pure civil servant there now. Yeah. I'm not even sure I want to have dialogue with any of them because I can't, not even under this minister anyway. Maybe when something happens and we have a better thing. But there was a time I wrote to them, I said, please do not ever invite me to your cultural policy again because we're all frauds. We've been discussing the same thing every time. It's like it was the ATM. A new minister comes in, they start this cultural policy thing. The first thing they are discussing, who is going to produce bag, who is going to book hotel, who is going to, we have not even started discussing the cultural policy. I don't see it being realized in the next few years. But then, the one I said we should insist on is that every state is allowed to have its own cultural policy. So why are we not making that kind of demand? Every state is there in Nigeria's statutory book. Every state, you don't need to wait for the federal government. Lagos State can have its own, Rivers can have its own, Kaduna can have its own. That is the whole idea of domestication. But we all face the federal government that will never, they are still battling flood now. So they will never have that. But thank you very much for this session and for Jerry, for the holding talks. Hopefully we'll get there someday. Let's keep on talking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And an important issue for me has just been highlighted by German and Nikolapo, and that is the fact that the states could do a lot on their own. I mean, for what it is, I have also had the benefit of traveling a bit to international theater festivals and conferences. And one question I don't fail to ask is to know the source of their funding for the things they do. And for some of them, it's simply just the estates and not the federal. So that's a good example Ekiti State laid here. And like you responded to Chinelo when she asked, I personally look forward to that time when artists within Ekiti State are able to, apply for grants, apply for, to support whatever they are doing, to support taking their performances outside of Nigeria or even within Nigeria in terms of mobility funds. If it is readily there and the state provides it, I believe, like N-Power itself, which was an idea taken from Ekiti State, maybe one day the federal too will look at some of it and find it necessary to do if a state piloted it and it seemed to be successful. So I'd like to say a very big thank you to our guest.
Jerry, if I may quickly intervene.
Okay, Prof, please.
Yes, I think since we're talking about the National Endowment for the Arts, it's important for us to look at the records. As far as our laws are concerned, there is an act for the endowment of the arts, which is dated 23rd November 1991. And that is why the minister, when he appeared before us in the AU roundtable in 2020, he was talking about amendment. So the truth of the matter is that by our laws, we have an act which is dated 23rd November 1991 for endowment of the arts. Of course, as my two colleagues have said, there has been a series of committees. I think actually the last one might be the one that was set when Gepe was there. I think Jama and myself were members, which was never inaugurated. And that was a committee that was to look at the act as it is and propose areas of amendment. So I think we need to have a conversation around this document to again reestablish the legal status of that document and see if it is our fault that we have not yet been able to advocate for implementation of certain provisions in that particular document. So maybe it's a conversation for another day. Thank you.
Exactly, Prof. And I will immediately put it back to ask if, to start with, we could have a session on holding talks with you and German as the focus for that day, and any other person could join to make input. Now, first of all, for those of us who are also within the sector to have some better understanding of the historical perspective, I mean, in terms of the journey towards the endowment fund for the arts thus far, and then collectively, maybe at some point, we can then look at how we can engage physically with the policymakers. And so the next session of holding talks is in 2 weeks. It's actually every 2 weeks, fortnightly. So which will be on the 3rd of November. If that is fine by Professor Dandaura and Uncle German and Nikolapo, we could make that our focus of discussion for that session. Prof and German. Is November 3rd fine to have a session of holding talks?
If German is there.
Prof. Okay. Okay, I agree. So, Uncle German, please prepare for us. November 3rd, I will follow up on this. And so, this is where we draw the curtain for this edition of Holding Talks. It's been, a very wonderful session. very educating. And whatever we don't know about the success story of Ekiti State, now we know that just under 3 years, it is possible to turn things around for the cultural sector and stimulate the art scene to the point that it becomes a bride even for those in government. And we hope that we will continue on this path, and Ekiti State and of course Nigeria will grow stronger when it comes to the art scene. And then we would, some of us, like Uncle Jaman said earlier on, since we cannot japa, there are those of us who cannot japa whatever happens, but at least when we would have what we will need, we have, mobility fund to support, movement of our works around the world, or to make new works as it is obtainable in other places, whether literary, whether performing art or whatever. So we want to say a very big thank you, and we wish you well. Like we have said, it's either of two things. It's either we have the benefit of you continuing to perfect things in Ekiti State, or you are transported to the central to begin to the federal to begin laying the groundwork for a better cultural scene. For everyone who has been here, I've seen my deputy president of NANTAP. She's been here since 11 a.m. Riti Esther Omoka, I'd like to celebrate you. Thank you for joining us yet again. Ambassador Uchenna Anya Mele, Mr. Who is that? The Olumide Olaniyan, Godwin Okondo, Auntie Shine, the storyteller. Yomi Oyekami all the way from the US. We thank you for joining us. Afabo Henry. Our first lady is also there, Lillian Bakare, as you can see on the screen. Ugochukwu Ugu, Esther Onwoka, like I said earlier on, and Olusheyi Ogungbeson. Some have been here and they left in the course of this session. And of course, Professor A.S. Dandaura, and your students, actually, and all the students watching us over there. We say thank you for joining us. We see you in 2 weeks on November the 3rd, 2022, and at 11 a.m. But if we need to adjust the time after speaking to the guest, we will do so. We need to adjust the time, we will do so. But the next date is November the 3rd, 2022. Thank you, everyone. And
thank you, Jerry. Bye-bye from us here.
Thank you. Yeah. See you some other time. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.